Story. Chapter 14 Secrets. It was after school. The time after the incident at the pool. Izuku left the campus, feeling a little down the weather. He didn't bother to check on Ochako. I mean, why though? Bakugo is there looking after her. So why worry? That's what Izuku thought. Midoriya. Kaminari called him from the back. Izuku heard him and turned around. What took you so low? You go ahead, I need to do something. He told the boy as he departed. Wait, before Izuku could finish, Kaminari was already too far from him. Gosh, that guy. Kaminari ran as fast as he could back to school. He looked everywhere for her. Upstairs, in classes, in every corridors. But after a few minutes, he spotted her, already on her way out to the exit. Jiro-san. When Jiro heard the voice, she flinched from her back. She didn't look back after a while. When she did, she showed him her eyes, half-lidded, looking bored and pissed at the same time. What? After Kaminari reached her, he panted, catching his breath. Don't give me that. I know something was wrong. Are you out of your mind or something? She said, There's nothing wrong with me, weirdo. She turned away, already leaving, but Kaminari grabbed her wrist. Jiro stopped her tracks, blushed a bit due his sudden touch. Hey, what are you? She saw his face full of worry. Jiro has never seen this side of him. His eyebrows furrowing, his eyes squinting a bit and his mouth pouting. She thought she'd find it cute. Tell what's wrong. Back at the pool, you were feeling down the whole time. She looked straight at him. Jiro sighed sharply as Kaminari gently let go of her wrist. It's embarrassing. What is? He asked, confused. Jiro avoided his eyes as she told him. I just hate swimming lessons, okay? Where the girls have to wear tight swimsuits and show off their body. Kaminari still didn't get anything. Then, she clicked her tongue in annoyance. Other girls have nice breast size and I'm the only one who is as flat as a board. She admitted, squirming her mouth, totally embarrassed. Kaminari widened his eyes, gaping his mouth, surprised with her words. He then snorted and laughed next. Jiro furrowed her eyebrows, completely irritated to the max. She felt her veins popped out of temples and her teeth gritting furiously. How could he laugh at something like that? I'm sorry, he said, through his laughs. I was so worried that it was something serious. But it was just that. Shut up, you bastard. She shouted back. After a while, he calmed down, with tears in his eyes already as he wiped them off. Shouldn't have told you. I knew you'd laugh, Jiro told, glaring at his eyes. Kaminari started to become stern. Look, what's so bad of being flat? It's very bad, she answered, which made Kaminari raise one of his eyebrows. All boys like girls with big size. Promoted stories. You'll also like A Hero's Love Desire. 3.6K62. It's almost Valentine's Day and Izuku Midoriya, Deku, is starting to realize that he has a crush on Ochako Uraraka, but he doesn't know if she feels the same way. He tries. Stars aligned Katsuki Bakugo X Fem. Re. 115K 3.5K. A new student enrolled into UA, one with abilities she cannot begin to fathom, abilities she never knew of and cannot control. As dangers lurk at every corner, the Vil. Hikari. Open hollow corner bracket volume 2 Omake's close hollow corner bracket. 7.2K 196. Blank, underscore, blank, end quote. This is the story of how we all became the greatest heroes, end quote. Blank, underscore, blank. Devotion rightwards two-headed arrow Katsuki Bakugo X Reader. 1.6M 47.1K. YN is a new student at UA High. She moved away with her dad a few years ago after her mom disappeared. While she lived here, her two friends Izuku Midoriya and Katsuki. You again. 122k 3.8k. Katsuki Bakugo did not believe in fate, but when Ochako Uraraka burst into the 1A classroom with big news, he was forced to reconsider. And oh where Katsuki is 3E. Echoes of Obsession, Yandere BNHAX Female R. 15.8k 512. You, the reader, find yourself into the prestigious halls of UA High School, surrounded by a group of aspiring heroes who harbor an unsettling obsession with you. From I Hate and Love You. 249k 4.6k. An Izwocha fanfiction where Deku and Uraraka had a fight in kindergarten which led to something worse. But maybe they can be friends or perhaps more. Non-Quirko rated. Kaminari sighed. It's not like that. It is. Idiot. He clicked his tongue with the sound of her voice raising. Not all boys think of that. He said it quieter that Jiro was unable to hear it. What did you say? She asked with glaring eyes. Yeah, you're flat as hell. Kaminari raised his voice. Jiro felt her own blood boiling. Can you shut you? So flat, I want to touch it so bad. He continued, cutting her sentence. Jiro felt her heart pumping fast with the sudden answer. Her eyes widened and her face completely blushed. What are you saying? She felt her cheeks burning red. Are you pervert or something? I'm a pervert, all right, but at least I'm not like those others who likes big ones, he answered. Your one is the most perfect one for me, so don't be sad, okay? Jiro was taken aback, her mouth gaping with no words coming out. She let out a small smile, slowly. She then snorted. Kaminari raised an eyebrow with her laugh. But after that, he smiled as well. After a few good seconds of laughing, Jiro talked. You really are a pervert. Kaminari scratched his nape and chuckled a bit. Don't make it sound like it's a bad thing. Jiro just smiled at his answer. It's getting late. I have to go now. She then waved at him. See you, Kaminari. She then departed. Jiro felt her cheeks still glowing red. She smiled from the back with what just happened. The feeling she's having inside was burning and she didn't know what it was. But she got a little bit of an idea. Kaminari was left there, also feeling a blush flashed across his cheeks to his ears. He then smiled, looking at her back from afar. She said my name for the first time. A few hours after Kaminari arrived home, Izuku was lying on his bed, looking up at the ceiling. His head is all about Ochako and Ochako and Ochako. All her. He couldn't stop thinking of her. All of those sleepless nights, throughout these past months, is all about her. He still doesn't know why. His dense brain still blocked of what he's feeling right now towards her. Izuku. He then heard his mom calling him from downstairs. Izuku jumped off of bed and made his way down. Yeah, Mom, you have a visitor. She pointed at the person entering the house. Kirishima. The red-headed boy smiled at Izuku. Yo, Midoriya. Izuku reached him. What are you doing here? The other boy chuckled nervously and looked down. He seemed hesitant to tell him about it, but he just couldn't help it. I need to talk to you about something. Can we talk somewhere private? Izuku was a bit confused with the situation. Sure. The two went up to his room. Izuku closed the door as Kirishima sat on the floor. What is it? Kirishima looked down, squirming his mouth, feeling a bit afraid. Izuku noticed it. What's wrong? Kirishima continued to look on the ground before gazing at Izuku's eyes. Izuku sat down slowly next to him. It's about Bakugo. Izuku felt a chill in his spines. The thought of that guy again gave him shivers. The name he's brought up made Izuku want to stop him right there. But he just continued. What about him? Kirishima felt a bit hesitant again. Before he could tell him, he said, "Promise me you wouldn't tell a single soul about this." Izuku gulped. Why, yeah, that look on his face. It was quite intimidating. He finally spoke. "Bakugo has been acting strange lately." "No kidding," he then continued. "This morning, after the pool incident, Bakugo had this look on his face. Something I've never seen before." The green-haired boy was a bit confused. "And," he said, "he seemed different." He then proceeded. "Maybe it's because of Uraraka. I know he likes her." He then buried his face in his arms as he hugged his knees. Izuku's mouth squirmed, furrowing his eyebrows. Hearing those made his heart ached. But why is Izuku feeling this way? His mind still can't understand it. But with Izuku's surprised look on his face, Kirishima proceeded. "But I love him so much." He heard him whimpered slightly. Izuku bulged his eyes. Is he serious in what he's saying? It seemed impossible for it to be true. Maybe it's something else. Don't jump into conclusions so quickly. It's weird, right? Kirishima said, lifting his swollen face up as he rested his chin. "I actually have romantic feelings for a guy." The other boy formed a thin line on his mouth. Well, it was true. Kirishima likes Bakugo. "I don't find it weird," he told to the red hair. Kirishima widened his eyes and looked at Izuku. "All people have their own rights." Kirishima kept looking into his eyes. He then smiled. "Thanks, Midoriya," he thanked the guy. "You know, I already told this to you and Siro." Izuku nodded. "I guess some people have different types of people that attracts them." "Hey, Midoriya," he called. Izuku responded. "Yeah, you like Uraraka, don't you?" Izuku flinched and widened his eyes. His heart thumping as he felt his veins flowing blood at high speed. His temples producing sweat, his face blushing red as it burns. What are you talking about?" "Of course not. Is it true?" Kirishima wasn't buying it. "Look, even though you like or don't like Uraraka, it doesn't mean that you have to avoid her like that." "Avoid," Izuku said. "How did you know?" The other boy chuckled a bit. "It was quite obvious. I would be surprised if Uraraka didn't realize." Izuku felt a bit embarrassed. "But the fact that you're doing that, don't you ever consider how would Uraraka feel about that?" "What do you mean?" Kirishima sighed, surprised that Izuku is still not getting it. "You two were so close. And when you suddenly avoided her, what do you think Uraraka would feel about that?" Izuku understood. He got the idea about it, but he's not sure what to do about it anymore. I see, was all he could say. "I'm pretty sure that someone told you to avoid her." Izuku looked at him and nodded. "It was Bakugo." Kirishima let out a small laugh, still looking sad with that smile. "I figured," he told. "I knew you're not that type of person who just abandons people like that." Izuku looked away and faced down. He felt his heart heavy. "What should I do? You still don't understand what you're feeling right now, huh?" he asked the guy. Izuku shook his head, still facing to the floor. Kirishima smiled. "Don't worry, someday, you will know." The freckled boy smiled, still not facing him. Kirishima sighed in relief and rested his head on Izuku's bed. "I am so glad I let it out." Izuku chuckled. "Yeah, well, Midoriya, I am just saying, I support you in Uraraka." He winked at him when Izuku looked at him. It's not like that," he told, embarrassed. Kirishima laughed a little at his reaction. Izuku then smiled back. "But I seriously support you in Bakugo. Not because I don't want Bakugo to be with Uraraka-san." "That's confusing." "Exactly." Izuku laughed along with Kirishima. It was another school day. Izuku entered the school grounds as he made his way to the classroom. When he went in, he sat on his place, feeling a bit moody. What Kirishima had said last night has made Izuku now worried about Ochako. He then took a glimpse of her at the back. She looked pretty normal as usual. He sighed in relief, glad that she's all right after that incident. After a few minutes, the teacher arrived. Mr. Aizawa greeted the class as the class did likewise after. He then suddenly came up with an announcement. Right now, we are in the late of February. It has been said that the school will arrange a field trip for both Class 1A and Class 1B this Friday to Sunday. So I'll pass out these forms for the permission of your parents to write on. He then passed the forms to each student. Everyone in class was all pumped up with this field trip. Izuku, too, was excited. He looked at the paper that was given and it was written that the venue would be in a forest far away from Tokyo. It's more on wilderness camp than a field trip, don't you think? Kirishima said to his seatmate. Please bring clothes, gadgets and other things you need which are necessary. Don't leave any personal belongings when we leave, alright? Yes, everyone answered in sync. Now, for your partners. He then looked at his watch, as if he was waiting for something. She should be her. Sorry I'm late, said a person, barging in class. Mrs. Joke, Mr. Aizawa called. Isn't she the teacher from the other class? Izuku said under his breath. She then passed him a small bucket with sticks in it. It took quite a while, since I have to do it for both classes. Thanks for your help, Mrs. Joke. See you. She winked at the guy before departing. Mr. Aizawa returned a cringed look in his face. Alright, Ms. Joke has prepared for you this thing for choosing your partners, he announced, showing them the small bucket. It's combined with the other class and Mrs. Joke has already done it with her class, he then proceeded. Each group will be formed with two people, a male and female. Everyone in class were surprised with the arrangement of groups. Boy and girl. Well, it seemed like a dangerous field trip due to the venue and girls couldn't handle it. So a male partner is needed. Each male will take a stick and the name in it will be your partner. He then passed the bucket to each boys as they took out one stick. Izuku then took one after a couple of minutes. But his face showed a shocked look with the results he got. Okay, everyone got their partners. Now, each boy will tell me who they got as I write it on the board. Izuku stared at his stick. The name that was written was completely unexpected. Out of all girls, why her? Hagakure Toru, Kaminari told Mr. Aizawa as he wrote down the partners. Kaminari Denki and Hagakure Toru, he said to himself as he wrote down the names. Iida Tenya, Mr. Aizawa called. Asui Suyu, he answered. Mr. Aizawa then wrote it on the board. Bakugo Katsuki, Yaoyaruzu Momo, he said in a low tone. Todoroki Shoto, Abara Shiozaki, he then continued. Kirishima Eijiro, Ashido Mina, Midoriya Izuku. There was no answer, just silence filling the air. Midoriya Izuku, the teacher raised his voice when he heard nothing. Izuku flinched, not paying attention. He then looked over to him. Why yes, your partner, he said. Oh, my partner is. Everyone in class was looking at him. The teacher waiting for his answer. Izuku still processing with the situation right now. Who is his partner? Uraraka Ochako, Sensei, A.N. Sorry I have to make this chapter a bit short. Because, next chapter is bound to be the most exciting for me and I guarantee that you'll love it. So that's why I didn't put a lot in this chapter. Please bear with me with how boring it was. And I also published a bit early than my actual schedule, so. Just saying that I've been watching this anime called The Promised Neverland and IFC King loved it OMGGG. Highly recommend winking face, so yeah that's all for today. See you in the next CHP. Heart, 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 heart. Where stories live. Discover now.